Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm in the middle of a home office makeover. I'm turning it into a moody, sophisticated space for my husband. The first project I tackled was refurbishing our old French doors, and the next project was this low-profile coffered ceiling. We needed a place to store books and memorabilia, so I'm building a big bookcase to go along this back wall. In order to make this vision come to life though, we had to close off this door. This door goes into the spare bedroom and we don't need to access it from the office, so we closed it off. And then we had to take out the built-in file cabinet closet, which I'm so bummed about because it was one of my favorite projects, but having a full blank wall will be great for the new bookshelves. My dad was in town and helped us demo the space and prep the wall for the next project. Here's my bookshelf sketch and the finished product. I'm so happy with how these turned out, and now I'm going to walk you through the steps on how to build them too. In the description below, you'll find the tools and materials that I used for this project. Before we jump in, I'm announcing something exciting over on my Instagram today, so be sure to follow me over there at Home with Stephanie so you don't miss out on the big news. First, let's talk about the design for the bookshelves. So I wanted the center unit to be deeper to fit our printer and some more practical office items. So the center unit is about 17 inches deep and 36 inches long. And then the two outside bookshelves are meant for books, so they're only 12 inches deep and 16 inches long. The first thing that I did was cut all the plywood for the 3 bookshelf boxes. I'm using 4x8 sheets of sand plywood from Home Depot in 3/4 and 1/2 inch thickness. For all the side vertical panels, I'm using 3/4 inch plywood, and then for the bottom, top, and back of the boxes, I'm using 1/2 inch plywood. Using 3/4 inch for everything would be ideal, but this is one way to cut costs a bit. I used my circular saw to cut all the panels down to size. After the panels were cut down, I sanded all the panels up to 220 grit. Next, I stained all the front side of the panels with this dark walnut gel stain by Varathane. After the panels were stained, I let it set overnight, and then I applied 2 coats of polyurethane, sanding lightly in between coats. To assemble the boxes and secure the panels together, I'm using pocket screws. I drilled pocket holes in all of the back panels so that the screws will be hidden. I glued the edge of the panel, and then Devin helped me steady each of the panels while I secured the pocket screws. For the top and bottom panel, I pre-drilled holes and then secured some small trim head screws. Now it's time for a water break sponsored by Waterdrop. I'm constantly filling my water bottle, and while I'm working out in the shop, I hate having to walk all the way to the house to refill it in the kitchen. Instead, I found the perfect solution, this countertop water filtration system. Here I have the Waterdrop C1S Countertop CoreRO system. It's easy to operate, fits every countertop, and has a 5-stage RO filtration, so I know I'm drinking safe water. This system is extremely versatile. With its installation-free design, you can put it anywhere in your home or in a workshop or garage like me. At the end of the day, I can take the water tank inside to refill it for the next morning. Check out the link in the description for more information about Waterdrop and this countertop water filtration system. The bookshelf boxes are assembled, and now I can work on the base that the boxes are going to be set on. I'm using 2x4s for the base. I cut them down to size and then secured them together with wood screws. To install the base, I had to remove some of the existing base trim first. I secured the base frame into the studs in the back wall so it's nice and secure. I made sure to level each of the frames first using shims where needed. The bases are secure, and now I can install the bookshelf boxes. Before setting the boxes in place, I made sure to mark out the studs on the back wall so that I knew where to secure the boxes into. I started with the middle box. I set the box in place and made sure it was level and plumb, and then secured the box down into the 2x4 framing. And I also secured it into the back wall so that there's no possibility of it tipping over. To beef up the vertical supports of the bookshelves, I cut some spacers out of scrap 2x4s. The vertical supports for the middle box are about 4.5 inches wide total and about 2.25 inches wide total for the smaller outside boxes. I ripped all the 2x4 spaces down to size accordingly. I secure the spacers to the outside of the vertical panels with brad nails. This is also what I will nail my vertical face trim to. After the spacers were secured, I installed the outside panel, nailing this to the spacers with brad nails as well. To install the left and right boxes, I followed the same steps as the middle box. The boxes are secured and now I can prep all the trim. I'm using these 1x5s that I ripped down at 4 1/4 inches to cover the 2x4 frame. I also ripped down a 1x5 at 4 inches to install at the top of the bookshelves behind the crown molding. I'm using this 2 1/4 inch detail trim to cover the vertical supports of the smaller left and right boxes, and then this wider 3 1/2 inch detail trim to cover the vertical supports of the middle box. I ripped down the 1x5s, sanded them, and then stained them along with the detail base trim, vertical trim, and crown molding. The trim is prepped and now I can prep the shelves. For the shelves, I'm using these pine stair treads. They're 1 inch thick, so they'll be nice and sturdy, and they have this bull nose, which I think adds a nice touch. These are 11 1/2 inches deep, which fit perfectly in the 12 inch deep left and right bookshelves, but for the middle shelf, I will need to add some depth to fit these 17 inch deep shelves. I cut all the shelves down to the right length. These shelves are going to be adjustable, so I cut them about 1/4 inch less than the opening. Since the middle shelves are 17 inches deep and the stair treads are only 11 1/2 inches deep, I had to rip down a few boards and splice the 2 boards together to create a 16 1/2 inch deep shelf. I secured the extra material together with wood glue and pocket screws. I used my clamps to hold the 2 pieces together while I secured them. The shelves are cut and assembled. Now I can sand them all down, stain them, and poly them with the same dark walnut gel stain and polyurethane. For trim, I installed the base 1x material first. I mitered the corners and wrapped it around the entire base of the bookshelves. I secured the trim to the base framing with brad nails. To install the upper 1x material, I needed to secure some blocking first. I cut some blocking out of scrap 2x4s and secured it to the top of the boxes with brad nails. After the blocking was secured, I secured the 1x material to the blocking at the top of the bookshelves with brad nails, making sure the trim was nice and level. Next, I installed the detail vertical trim. I secured this to the blocking for each of the boxes. For the 2 outside bookshelves, I made the width of the vertical supports 2 1/4 inches to fit the 2 1/4 inch detail trim. For the middle box, I wanted to make the vertical supports a bit wider at 4.5 inches, and the larger detail trim was only 3.5 inches, so I had to rip an extra inch to get the full 4.5 inch width. I used brad nails and glue to secure these detail trim pieces. Now I can finally install the base trim and the crown molding. I mitered the corners of the base and the crown molding and secured it to the 1x lumber behind it with brad nails, leaving about an inch reveal. I love the character that the base trim and the crown molding adds. I think it gives the bookshelves more of a sophisticated and traditional look, which is the look that I'm going for. I wanted these shelves to be adjustable, so I drilled shelf pin holes in all the boxes. I used this special shelf pin drill and guide from Rockler to drill all the holes. It's really hard to see, but this jig made it super easy, and now we have the ability to adjust the shelves however we need to. After the holes were drilled, I took a tiny paintbrush and stained all of the holes so that they blended in better with the rest of the bookshelves. Last but not least, it was finally time to install the shelf pins and the adjustable shelves. There we have a beautiful built-in bookshelf. I can't wait to get our books and memorabilia displayed in here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I have a few more projects to finish up in the office before it's completely finished, so stay tuned for the entire office reveal coming soon.